privilege and indeed a pleasure for me to present to the public this morning the account of what we have been doing in the Lagos State Ministry of Justice in furtherance of the law and order objectives of the Babatunde Raji Fashola administration. I will start with a word of gratitude. As you have seen already this morning, I am supported by a few very able gentlemen and very many very able ladies. As has been introduced earlier, the Solicitor General Permanent Secretary, Mr. Lawal Pedro, SAN, the directors in the various directorates and units and centers and agencies of the State Ministry of Justice have worked tremendously with a lot of dedication, with a lot of energy to bring us to where we are today. So, if you don't mind, we'll give all of them a round of applause. Thank you very much. And I will, from there on, thank the good people of Lagos State. Because the work that we do in the Ministry of Justice is a work of service. Okay, whether we are in court, arguing the case of the state government, or we are prosecuting suspects, or we are giving legal advice to the various units and agencies and ministries of government, or we are assisting the poor, the indigent in our society to access the justice system. It's all about service. And you will agree with me that service is a matter of interaction. And when you have to work by interaction, when you have to work with people, then you cannot succeed unless you have the cooperation of the people that you work for and you work with. And therefore, I want to also thank sincerely the good people of Lagos State. I think, having regard to the peculiar circumstances of this great state, we are lucky indeed because we have had a public that showed cooperation, that showed understanding, that was willing to work with us at all times to achieve our objectives. Lastly, in this regard, but of course, not the least, perhaps the most important, is to thank His Excellency the Governor, because it is the support, the constant support, the unceasing support that he gives us, the encouragement that we get at all times, that has led us to the place where we are today. So, what I will be disclosing to you, gentlemen of the press, this morning, as you can see, it's not my handiwork, but the handiwork of His Excellency the Governor, all of the various directors and staff of the Ministry of Justice, and indeed the people of Lagos State that have been in active cooperation with us. Well, I would like to present this, because you all have the printed details. I will present this under various heads, just to sort of segment what we will be talking about, and we will take each at a time and then move on to the rest. We are talking in particular about the last 12 months. Okay, So I will try to avoid what you might consider repetitive and focus on what is new, what has happened in the past 12 months that you may consider novel. So I will start with the law and order initiatives of this government. You know, we've been saying it, and I am sure that you have also been feeling it, because despite its huge population, despite its very small land size, despite the consequent density of the population in Lagos, we have managed to remain relatively safe and secure. If you are talking about safe places in Nigeria, secure places in Nigeria, you will definitely talk about Lagos State. And there are various things that we do in order to achieve this result. We have remained at the cutting edge of legislative reforms in Lagos State. And because we are also blessed with the House of Assembly that is up and doing, that is always thinking of how best to further the interest and welfare of Lagosians, we have, coming from the House of Assembly, very interesting bills, which are processed, and we give our views and they are passed into law. And then on the executive side, we have a lot of executive bills, which are either new, because they are on the subject matter that we have not legislated upon before, or mere amendments to existing law. And we take these amendments seriously because we are in a dynamic society. So we go back and look again at our laws all the time with a view to discovering in what way they might be improved upon. In the last year, there are a lot of in the last year, a lot of legislative activity took place, and some of which were very important, and I will quickly go through them. I mean now, laws that were assented to by His Excellency the Governor after due process of passage at the House of Assembly. You will recall that within the past year, we had the Oil and Gas law. This law creates the Oil and Gas Corporation, which is an investment vehicle for Lagos State, because it's been established that Lagos State has a lot of potentials in the area of petroleum exploration and production. And we think as a government, without actually going into business, without actually setting up a company to do the business, that we should have a vehicle which we can use to cooperate with the private sector. So if Lagos were to have a partnership in any business, for instance, in the area of petroleum exploration and production, this is the corporation that will be the vehicle used by Lagos State to partner with other commercial concerns in the field. We also had, as you will recall, the cremation law, which for the first time gives us a legal framework for voluntary or elective cremation of corpses in Lagos State. As we have said over and over again, this does not mean that corpses in Lagos State would or must automatically be cremated. No, it is entirely up to the persons responsible for that corpse, the next of kin or the families, to make that decision. But we thought that since there were people interested, it's better to have a legal framework to regulate it. And then also for unclaimed corpses, where we do not have any ready option for dealing with them, they can also be processed through this means. We also have the Lagos State Christian and Muslim Pilgrims Welfare Board's Law 2013, which now just sharpens the administrative and management structures for the Muslim pilgrims on the one hand and the Christian pilgrims on the other hand, just to make sure that we have a structure that is reliable, that can guarantee a very smooth pilgrimage for residents of Lagos State. As is usual, we had also the appropriation amendment law. This came in later last year, and that is why it is falling within the scope of this report. Because what we do as a state is that as the year is running to an end, we look at our budget once again. And if there are areas of priority where we need money, and there are other areas where we had earlier devoted some money, but which had not been utilized, instead of ending the year with a low budget performance, we move the funds from the areas where they are not being fully used to the areas where they are required. And that is why we usually have the appropriation amendment law. That is the law that amends the budget, as it were, to enable us focus on priority areas. We also had the Lagos State Public Service Staff Development Center law reviewed in 2013. The SSDC had been there, the Public Service Staff Development Center had been there. But what this law does is to upgrade the administrative structure, okay, to look again at the objectives of that agency and see ways of bringing them, aligning them with the current needs and realities of the state civil service. As you know, the state civil service keeps changing. It has modernized in no small measure. The challenges of today are not exactly the same as the challenges of, say, 10 years ago. So if we have a law that is catering to the training and development of staff, you will agree with me that regularly we should go back to that law, reassess it, and see how we can improve it to achieve the current purposes of government. And that is exactly what we did. Of course, we had the appropriation law 2014, which established the budget that we are currently operating. We also had the Lagos State Emergency Command and Control Center law 2014. We are all used to the emergency numbers 767 and 112, but it is this law that now gave it the legal structure that is needed. So the Emergency Command and Control Center is now established by law. It has a management structure, and these numbers are now protected from misuse. So if anyone were to call 112 or 767 only to say, we are just greeting you, or how are you doing that, that would now be an offense, because you are misusing those lines. Those lines are for emergency situations, for you to get speedy response. So anybody using it to make inquiries, to find out what is going on, whether there will be a public holiday tomorrow, those are not issues that those lines are designed for. There are several other lines of the state government, and we have a website. In fact, several websites from which information can be gleaned by members of the public. So we want to protect these lines and make sure they are only available for use for emergency purposes, and that is what has been achieved by the Emergency Command and Control Center law. You would also recall the regulation of smoking law not too long ago, and we have explained that because it just limits the ambit of smokers in the public space to make sure that if they insist on smoking, they don't do it in such a way as to cause inconvenience or harm to others. We also had in this current year the Consumer Protection Agency law, quite recently signed by His Excellency the Governor. So this is meant to pull together all our consumer protection efforts, which have been in the Ministry of Justice, in the Ministry of Commerce and Industry, in the Ministry of Women Affairs and Poverty and Education, in various areas of government like that. We are now pulling all of them into a very strong central agency. You will recall also that His Excellency the Governor passed a law in 2012 which established the Lagos State Law Reform Commission. That commission has been working hard, and very soon, hopefully before the end of this year, I will be able to report to you that all the laws of Lagos State, including all the pieces of legislation that have recently been passed, have now been compiled into a set, so that by acquiring that set, whether in hard form or in electronic form, you have access to all the laws of Lagos State. And we are seizing this opportunity to review those laws, so that if any of them, for instance, have outdated penalties, outdated rules, this is the occasion to put everything right. And that is why this process will also pass through the Lagos State House of Assembly. And at the end of the day, we will once again lead the trade of other states in having the most up-to-date collection of state laws in one piece where everyone can very easily get access to them. Recently, the Commission also embarked on a review of 3 business, I will call them business laws of Lagos State. The Lagos State Cooperative Societies Law, Money Lenders Law, and the Sale by Option Law. This used to be more or less the backbone of business in Lagos a few years back. Cooperative societies were very strong, very well organized, and very rich. So we want to review the law now, see what more we can do to bring back that glory to cooperative societies, give them very current provisions, to work with very current structures to be administered by. The same for money lenders. The situation here today, small businesses, individuals, traders, and so on, who may not have access to the banking industry, may have resort to money lenders, but we want to have it well regulated, so nobody is unduly cheated, nobody is made to go into a contract which he does not really understand. And then sale by auction used to be also big business. It is still good business, but we want to review the legal structure with a view to making it even better. So sale by auction has gone beyond what it used to be. Auctions are now carried on online and so on and so forth. So we need to update our rules, and that is what the Law Reform Commission is doing. Now I move on to another, that is the Public Interest Law Partnership. This is a partnership that was established by His Excellency in November of 2012. So what is new is that we are able to say today that it is achieving its objectives. And what are those objectives? I'll quickly go over them. A lot of people in our society were around 20-21 million now. A lot of us will have legal problems, either because they are accused, okay, and they have to defend themselves in the law courts, or because they are aggrieved, their rights have been trampled upon. Maybe they are employees that feel that they have been wrongly sacked, or maybe they are tenants or landlords that feel that something is wrong somewhere, for which they want to have resort to the law. Now, what happens if they cannot afford it? That means they really don't have access to justice. And if people, a large chunk of people in society, do not have access to justice, it means that there will be a mistrust of the legal system. that it is a system for them, not for me. And therefore, I would tend to do things my own way. I would tend to take the law into my own hands. So this is a structure that is meant to supplement what the state government is already doing through the Office of the Public Defender, offering free legal services, offering legal representation to the indigent. Now, it just happens that we also have amongst private legal practitioners a lot of lawyers who are willing to give some of their time to take up cases free of charge. And the state is now working with them to have a proper structure, like a clearing house, so that those that need the service can come to us and we can introduce them to the legal practitioners that can assist them pro bono, that is free of charge. This is what the PILP is about. And we now have 120 partner law firms. That is, we have 120 firms in Lagos State that have signed on and made the commitment that if you have a poor person who has a legal problem, I stand ready to take up the person's case free of charge, and I will treat it as the same way as I would treat my fee-paying clients. And so, as of today, we have 120 that are signed on in that way, and they've been able to, they are in court already. We have already 80 ongoing criminal cases that are being handled pro bono. And this is quite different, let me stress, from what Office of the Public Defender is doing, because that is the state-sponsored agency for legal aid. But we now have privately sponsored one, which we are coordinating as a state government. So 80 criminal cases already ongoing, 36 civil cases, and a lot of people are impacted by these cases. 110, a total of 423 people are enjoying this benefit already as we speak. 423. Okay? Maybe you will recall a suit about some tenants who got swindled by an agent, almost 110 of them. That case is being handled under this PRP program. That is, a lawyer is pleading their case free of charge. And there's another case of group interest, about 48 people involved in the case, also being handled pro bono. We had our pro bono week just 2 weeks ago, and we had a lot of interesting programs, one of which was we had a stakeholders meeting. So we were able to meet with those that had already signed on before, as at that time we had about 64 already signed on, and exchanged ideas with them, got to know their challenges, what else we could do to assist them, and so on and so forth. And at that event, we had more people signing on, and that is how come we have up to 120 in the partnership today. We also had a day in the law school where the law students also participated. With the assistance of the pro bono lawyers, they were able to offer free legal services throughout the day at the law school to indigent persons that sought that service. We also had a dinner at which His Excellency the Governor inaugurated assignment. So the records will continue to grow and will give us a veritable database against which to check. If we have fingerprints, for instance, from a crime scene, we can check. If we have photographs, we can check to see if that person has been arrested before. So this is a tool really for investigation, and it's a tool for even sentencing, because after convicting the offender, a judge or magistrate may want to know whether he is a habitual offender, whether he has been arrested for something else before, and so on and so forth. So this is the record that we can use for that purpose. Now, let me move on to citizens' rights protection. And just as a prelude to that, I want to stress that the work that we do can really be segmented into two. You know, we work for government in the Ministry of Justice. We are legal advisors to government. We are lawyers to government going to the law court. But on the other hand, we are also lawyers to the people of Lagos State. A lot of petitions come to us which we treat. A lot of people come to us who have no other means of getting legal assistance, who have legal problems but don't know where to go. And that is where our Citizens' Rights Protection Program comes in. We are all used now to the Directorate for Citizens' Rights. It still exists in the Ministerial Justice, and it's one of those agencies through which we serve the public. So typically when I get a petition relating to a human rights issue or human rights infringement, I send it to the Directorate of Citizens' Rights. And in the course of the past year, 2,232 petitions and complaints were, 2,801 were received by that Directorate, 2,801, and they had already treated 79.7% of it, which is 2,232. And in the course of these, petitioner says, Mr. Hay is owing me, we get in touch with Mr. Hay, we're able to recover some money. So that Directorate has, in the past year, recorded just under 6 million cash retrieved for various petitioners. Obviously, not all the petitions will involve any cash. So just a few where we see that money is owed or damages are due and things like that. And this is just one of the Citizens' Rights Protection agencies that we have. I will still talk about the others. But another landmark event of the Directorate for Citizens' Rights is the World Human Rights Day, which we now mark with the rest of the world on December 10. The last one was focused on the rights of people living with disabilities. And we introduced into that program now an annual essay competition on human rights. This is our way of getting human rights to the schools. So schools can, pupils, students can enroll for the essay competition. We have different layers of essays, simple ones for primary schools, a bit more difficult for the lower secondary, junior secondary, and then the one for senior secondary. And by throwing up this competition amongst our schools, whether public or private, we are ensuring that they get familiar with the Constitution, they get familiar with human rights issues, they know their rights, and so on and so forth. And then we have the grand finale on the Human Rights Day itself, where we have a debate amongst the winning schools. We also have the Child's Rights Program in the Directorate for Citizens' Rights, which is an avenue for protecting the rights of children, ensuring that children who come in conflict with the law are adequately accompanied, assisted. And also, this is a one-stop center for children in needing assistance, needing rehabilitation, young offenders, street children, orphans, and destitute children. The Directorate also goes on prison visit. It's our way of finding out who is in prison custody, who should not be there. And not only do we find out, we also take steps to ensure that they are freed. If we need to file fundamental rights enforcement, we need to plead their cases in one way or the other. We do that to ensure that those that ought not to be there are released. Then we have a special public interest defense team because there are certain issues that arise in the news concerning the human rights infringement. So we have this team that can once we receive the petition and it is not otherwise being dealt with by any other agencies, this team can quickly take it up and ensure that we have a positive response on the part of government for free, completely free to the affected victims. The Office of the Public Defender, I mentioned earlier, offers free legal services and legal representation, and you are used to it. By now, I will just give you the current figures because during the past year, the OPD handled 8,106 matters in the various courts. Okay, at absolutely no cost. 8,106. Cutting across labor, that is employer-employee matters, civil matters, breach of contract, criminal cases, coroner's inquest, fundamental rights enforcement cases, and so on and so forth. Again, as I said, our agencies assist people to retrieve monies due to them, maybe unpaid salaries, maybe unpaid rent, maybe unpaid. So OPD in this regard recovered almost 58 million in the past year, within the past year alone. And some of the cases that they are handling, I'm sure, were in the news, so you are familiar with them. The market case, the case of the two women, they are just awaiting the police report. There are certain aspects of the investigation they are still working on, but once we get the report, we are ready to go to court to prosecute the accused persons. Then the case also in the news on a while back, a staff of a company owned, I think, by Lebanese who was killed and lost pregnancy as a result. OPD assisted in resolving that matter and getting damages for the affected person. Then, of course, the Pennsylvania BPO's unlawful shooting case is still ongoing. The criminal aspect is ongoing, but the civil aspect has been concluded with an award of compensation of $4 million for the defendants, for the victims. We also have, as one of these agencies dealing with human rights issues, the Public Advice Center. It has facilities to give quick assessment, listen to your problem, give you a quick assessment, refer you to the agency that is best suited to assist. And in the past 12 months, that center had 420 matters, out of which 4 or 5 had already been resolved. And again, this center on its own in the past year recovered almost $5 million on behalf of victims. Of course, we have the mediation center too, the Citizens Mediation Center, which continues to promote alternative dispute resolution. This is a major tool for decongesting our courts and making sure that cases are resolved in a cheap, non-adversarial manner. You know, offering free mediation services. By the way, the staff of the Citizen Mediation Center are trained, so they deploy their skills to make sure that these matters, no matter how complex, are resolved very quickly. And in the past year, they did a total of 27,209 cases. Okay, 299 cases were received, out of which 15,870 had already been resolved. The others pending. Again, they recovered money on behalf of parties to the disputes that they were trying to resolve. A total of 411 million were recovered on behalf of parties. Of course, we have a Directorate of Civil Litigation, which works for government this time. If government is sued or government needs to sue and it's a civil matter, this is the directorate that deals with it. It is working for all the ministries, departments, and agencies. So whether you sue His Excellency the Governor, or you sue the Attorney General, or you sue a ministry, a commissioner, an agency of government, the Directorate of Civil Litigation will deal with it. And they have 1,197 cases ongoing in various courts, from magistrates to Supreme Court. 256 came in the past year. So a lot, the majority of the 1,197 cases are ongoing from previous years. We have a Directorate of Advisory Services and Judicial Liaison, and as the name suggests, they advise government, ministries, departments, agencies. So any ministry having a legal issue could write to me requesting advice, and I will normally send it to that is the Directorate of Advisory Services. And then they assist the judiciary, especially personnel, judges of the High Court, if they have any delays with the executive, anything to resolve, that's also takes charge of that. During the period under review, that's 289 petitions and requests for legal advice, out of which 233 had already been concluded, the others are ongoing. It also has some court matters because some of these legal advice would have disputes arising, would have cases coming up in consequence, and some of these cases are taken by the Directorate of Advisory Services itself, especially when they relate to employer-employee relationship. This is the Directorate that also represents the Ministry of Justice on personnel management boards. So when there's an issue of discipline, a staff member is queried, and then the board is to review the query or petition against any staff that might lead to disciplinary measure. A panel is set up and Ministry of Justice is represented, and Directorate of Advisory Service is the one that will send the representative. And they attended 79 of such board meetings during the past year. The Directorate of Commercial Law is the one that deals with commercial and contractual matters. Okay, so all the contracts that the state government enters into with contractors, with concessionaires, with partners, we have the public-private partnership, whatever you choose to call it. On the part of government, this is the Directorate that will take part in the negotiation and drafting of the contract. And in the past year, they did 537 contracts, which also shows the extent of government activity, because if you are signing 537 contracts, it means that you have 537 maybe projects ongoing, whether it's computerization, road works, building works, consultancy, management contract, and so forth. The Directorate does a bit of litigation, so in addition to negotiating and drafting contracts, they have 13 cases in court in the past year. And it is under that Directorate that we have the Limited Partnership Registry, Limited Liability Partnership Registry, and then the Bill of Sale Registry. So both are located in the Directorate of Commercial Law. Then we have the Administrator General and Public Trustees. Also in the Ministry of Justice, but what it does is offer services to private individuals mainly. If there is an estate, typically the owner of the estate, before his or her death, would have nominated the administrators or executors. But sometimes the owner may nominate the administrator general that he wants the estate administered by the state, and he goes to the administrator general. Sometimes the executors that were appointed either are not available or they renounce, and they also say they are not interested, and then it comes to the administrator general. Sometimes it's in the process of a court case that the court would order that the property be given to the administrator general. So for any of these reasons, estates come under the management of the administrator general or public trustees. And in the past 12 months, 11 new estates, they have a lot they are dealing with already, but 11 new estates were assigned to that office. That office also assists people to process death benefit. So 54 death benefit files were sent to the office, and if we add these ongoing estates that are already there, 85 estates were inspected. And the sum of 99 million, odd, almost 100 million, was paid to next of kin of deceased public servants, and almost 11 million generated as revenue for the state government in the process. Administrator General has cases in court relating to the estates that it is managing. 316 such cases are currently ongoing. Then I've given next a snapshot of our construction projects. You know, the policy of this administration is to modernize the courtrooms and at the same time upgrade especially our magistrate court. We are now having combined high and magistrate courts in various locations, so that if you have a problem in Badagry, you don't have to come to Ikeja to plead or to defend your case. So if you look at it, we are building courts right across the state. Ikorodu is now completed. It was commissioned on September 27, 2013. Ikeja is nearly completed, 85% certainly done, if not beyond that as we speak. The same with Badagry, almost completed. We also have ongoing projects at Ekwe. We have at Oba. We have at Ajegule and at Igondo. We are also, as part of the law and order objectives of government, assisting the police. We are constructing an administrative block for the police area command at Idimu. We are doing the same for the police area command at Elemoro in the Begileki area. We are doing the same for police area command at Ilashe Ibeshi. Okay, and we are also embarking on residential estate development for judges. Our Lagos International Arbitration Center is still ongoing, is still under construction. And for further details of what I have said, the ministry has a website which is also linked to the Lagos State official website. We have a regular TV program called Lagosians and the Law. And as some of you may well be very much aware, we do a regular briefing, especially on the law and order and criminal justice administration aspects of what we do. We also participate mainly in the issuance of certificates of occupancy and governance consent on behalf of His Excellency the Governor. I say participate mainly because we screen the files that come when you apply for governance consent or COO, and if we certify that everything is okay, we have the authority to endorse on behalf of His Excellency the Governor. So I, as Attorney General, in the past year, had endorsed 3,510 governors' consent plans and 887 COOs. So the AG's office does not keep pending files in this regard. They are cleared on a weekly basis as they come. We are also, as usual, taking the continuing education of our council very seriously, aside from a few foreign courses to which they are exposed. We have regular in-house training to which we invite distinguished judges, senior legal practitioners to come and share their perspectives on various aspects of the law. And this, we call the Legal Education and Research Node, LEARN, had seen us bring distinguished judges, senior advocates of Nigeria to the ministry. We give them a topic ahead of time, which will be a topic on which we also are looking for clarification. And they come in and engage, make a presentation and engage with counsel on those topics. And that has really enriched the personnel that we have in the Ministry of Justice. So, in conclusion, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, that is a snapshot of what, or some of those things that we've been doing in the past year. As I said, further information can be obtained if you have any particular query on any aspect of what we are doing. We look forward, as we roll into another year, we look forward to Lagosians taking issues of law and order very seriously. It is for the protection of all of us, and we crave your cooperation in making sure that Lagos remains safe, Lagos remains secure. Thank you very much for your attention.
Honorable Commissioner, sir, Special Advisor, all members here seated will agree with me that the conviction of this administration is that law must be, that we must keep law with pace in Lagos State in the society in order for government to remain relevant. A dynamic society cannot afford its law to be static. Going by what the Honorable Commissioner for Justice has just said, you will agree with me that the ministry has done so well in the last 1 year. Can we please give him a round of applause? Just on a lighter note, I was just wondering if law is actually synonymous with trouble, because there's this sticker I used to see that says, I'm a lawyer, trouble, now my book. And looking at the faces of all those seated here, I was actually wondering who the troublemaker is. And I was seeing people's faces and handsome faces. Can we please give another round of applause? And I'd also like to inform us and remind us once again that we are on live on Lagos State.tv, and you can also follow us on Twitter at follow LASG. Distinguished gentlemen.
You are aware that if it's a public place like a restaurant and so on, that you are supposed to create a smoking room for them so that they don't smoke where others are also trying to enjoy themselves. I think by taking those proactive measures, we all implement the law to the satisfaction of everyone. But we should not see implementation as something entirely for the police. We all have a role to play in preventing smoking in unauthorized places and in promoting public health, because that is really what it is about. It's about promotion of public health. So the question is whether we as landlords or householders or people in charge of premises would allow it. Now we have an excuse because we have a law. We can quote and say, no, I won't allow you to do this because the law forbids it. And in those little ways, we can go a long way in giving effect to the law. Emergency line, the same way. What I think has happened is that since we passed that law and we also publicized it and we put it on our programs, a lot of people became more aware that they are not supposed to misuse those lines. Okay? I'm not aware, again, that since then misuse has been reported or arrests have been made, but I know that we have a process for dealing with it. Okay? Even the law provides that the Command and Control Center will send you a warning, because if they see that your number has reoccurred in the same way that you are abusing the line, they can send you a warning. The point at which they will decide to prosecute you and so on depends on the extent of the problem. But to my knowledge, there hasn't been any prosecution since the law is passed. What there has been, and what I'm interested in, is that a lot more people know that the purpose of these numbers is to bring emergency complaints and not to greet them or to make inquiries or do. I think a lot more people know that now, so they are not misusing the line as they were before. But if they do, the company has a process, the agent company that is assisting us to implement that, they have a process of determining which numbers are being misused, who is misusing it, what is the frequency, sending out warnings, and reporting to the police to have an arrest made. So talking about measures in place for implementation of the anti-smoking law, I think at this stage, enlightenment, public enlightenment, let everybody know their role. Let everybody know what is allowed and what is not allowed. I think that is the biggest motivation for enforcement of the law. Let people know first. And let people not just know that they shouldn't smoke, but that there is a reason for it. What are the dangers of smoking? So we hope that you will assist us in that regard of letting people know. And letting people know that there are penalties if you persist. I cannot tell you here that the policeman will not arrest you. Neither can I tell you that wherever you are, a policeman will be there. We have not reached that stage yet. But I can tell you to please familiarize yourself with the law and make sure that you keep within its provisions. Freedom of information. I've skipped the issue of the Bariga forced evictions. The Solicitor General Permanent Secretary will deal with it because he was part of the team that went to the place. Okay, so we'll come to that. Freedom of Information Act. I think there has been a misunderstanding. People thought or said that, oh, Lagos State is blocking its application, we don't want freedom of information. We have no reason not to want freedom of information. As of today, Lagos State is one of the, if not the most free government around. Okay? People, of course, we are also the most pressured in terms of requests for information. All of the NGOs are here. All of the human rights fighters, everybody is there. And they come to us for various reasons, and they will get information that is not classified. You will agree with me that it is not everything that we do that is in process that we can release to the public. That by itself is capable of damaging the prospects of good administration. Sometimes it is when the information becomes mature, it is ready to be released, that we can release it. So I want people to understand this first. And the issue on which the problem arose happened to have even been a World Bank loan. which has very public, very notorious procedures, which the state government cannot on its own begin to evade. There are accounting procedures, there are reporting procedures laid down by the World Bank itself. And the ECO project has even published the manner in which the funds were disbursed before. And if anybody wants further information on that, you can get in touch with my office. But long and short of it is that we are not opposed to information being released where that information is not secret or classified. Now, the Freedom of Information Act, by the way, is an enactment of the National Assembly. Okay? It is not applicable to the state. That is the statement again that was misunderstood. But you need not misunderstand it. It's very logical because it's a concurrent matter. Concurrent means that it is a matter over which National Assembly has its own jurisdiction. And the Constitution says public records of the Federation will be regulated by the National Assembly. The same Constitution says, that public records of the state will be regulated by the State House of Assembly. And it makes perfect sense. The State House of Assembly cannot regulate the manner in which information at the federal level will be released or not released, because it doesn't even know what that information is. And vice versa. Abuja cannot provide for the release of information by the government of the state when even the federal government does not know the content and context of that information beforehand. So that is why the Constitution has made a very sensible demarcation. So we have the Freedom of Information Bill in the House of Assembly. We have to await its passage. Once it is passed, yes, it becomes Freedom of Information Law of Lagos State and we will be bound by it. But in the meantime, we do not have, and we are not bound by the federal statute. But that does not mean that we will not just release any information. No, no government can run without releasing information. But there will be some information that we will not release because they are not mature for release, because there are security implications, because there are administrative efficiency implications. And then, let me also say this, that this whole idea could be misused. If we are not careful, especially in a place like Lagos, we won't do much else but scrambling about looking for this or that document because somebody asked. Okay, so if the flow of requests is at a level that is going to even distract work, we're entitled to say, okay, go to Ministry of Information, go to the website, go to our Ministry of Finance publishes our annual accounts every year to show how money was spent. Our Ministry of Economic Planning and Budget publishes the whole details of what we have budgeted for, how we hope to find the money, and so on and so forth. These are convenient places to seek information. So it will be awkward if there is a barrage of requests that would entail considerable cost, time, and effort on the part of government. So we also plead for some consideration on the part of those seeking this information. We will give what we have to give. Now, on the VAT litigation at the Supreme Court, I hope we are all clear as to what happened. What happened was that the Supreme Court declined jurisdiction. The Supreme Court said, okay, this is your case. We will not hear it. The court never had the case, so he never decided one way or the other. He didn't hear the case. So, for reasons that he gave, that it wasn't a case that should have come directly to the Supreme Court. We went there because we had precedents of similar cases that went there. But it may be that the law has changed. The legal practitioners are still studying the effect of that judgment. And the question about what we have done or what we will do about it, well, it's not something that we will do in a hurry. After all, part has been there since before 1999, isn't it? So really, it just means, that judgment means status quo remain. That is, that will continue to run. Fortunately, the same Supreme Court has also validated our consumption taxes, the one applicable in the hospitality industry. So we will stay where we are in the meantime. And wherever there is a change, or we desire a change, or we are taking steps, we will be sure to update you.
Yes, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, on the Bariga issue, let me first of all clear this conception, and that we should just note that when the court makes an order or gives a judgment in respect of any matter, unless there's a legal impediment to the enforcement of that judgment, the judgment will have to be enforced, or the order has to be enforced, and the executive arm will not ordinarily intervene in the enforcement of that judgment. But where, like in the case of the Bariga incident, it is suspected that the judgment was obtained by fraud, which itself is criminal in nature, then the state, the executive arm, have every duty to intervene. And when we intervened in that of the Bariga issue, it was actually discovered that about 7 or 8 houses were involved. But the intervention of the state government was able to restore possession back to the what we call the occupiers, or the owners or the tenants that were in those premises, except one that had been badly damaged, which we actually directed to be reconstructed, because we suspected that the judgment was obtained by fraud. And steps were taken to call for the title documents of all the owners, to compare it with the title document that was used in court. And of course, most of these landowners already have their own counsel and solicitor, which I invited to my office. And I saw their cases. They already, although the Office of Public Defender also intervened, and we were about to go to court on behalf of the residents to protect their properties. But when we discovered that they already had a counsel, what I did was to invite the counsel to my office, and of course, gave them what we call legal advice free of charge on what to do to protect their interest, the interest of their clients, and that was taken to, and I think we have peace. Since then, they've not come back to say the purported judgment creditor had come back to disturb them in the area. To the best of my knowledge, most of them are back into their residence, and if there's any change to that, they can let us know.
Good afternoon, sir. My name is Rita and I write for the Ministerial. Honorable Commissioner, sir, still on the facts, going by the Supreme Court judgment that dismissed the case, I want you to tell us whether that, by implication of that dismissal, does it mean the Lagos State government do not also have the right to impose tax, the consumption tax? Then secondly, I understand about 52 eminent Nigerians, or should I say 52 tax defaulters in Lagos State being prosecuted, or you are undergoing the process of prosecuting them. I want to know the state of the prosecution, whether you are going ahead with the prosecution, or whether those people are paying tax. Thirdly, I understand that in Lagos State, suspects are being transported in the use of Black Maria, which I think, even in the international itself, it is no longer acceptable. Because the suspect is the suspect until it is proven guilty in the law court. When the Lagos State government replaced Black Maria with that Green Maria or any other human-friendly thing to complete a suspect. Thank you very much, sir.
My question has to do with this subsidy protest case. Mostly we have the commend the OPD for penalty judgment for the victims of that incident. But I want to ask, what efforts are the ministry making in order to enforce the judgment? And secondly, you made mention of the old laws. I want to ask if these are not the 3 old laws you intend to reform, or you are putting it in this bill. Thank you. I have for the question.
What did you say about laws? About the laws?
The Law Reform Commission, under the Law Reform Commission, the implementation of 3 laws.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Peter Ọládélé Ọláyínká lórúkọ tèmi, Radio Lagos. Ìbéèrè mi pín sí ọ̀nà méjì. Àkọ́kọ́ ni òfin tó ní ṣe pẹ̀lú jíjó òkú. Láti ìgbà tí òfin ti bẹ̀rẹ̀ iṣẹ́, mi ò tí ì gbọ́ pé bóyá ó ti ní òkú pàtó sí àjò ní ìpínlẹ̀ Èkó. Yálà èyí tí àwọn mọ̀lẹ́bí gbé wá tàbí tí àwọn tó wà níbi ètò ìgbé ó tọ́ láti jó. Àkọ́kọ́ nílé yìí ló bá ti wà fún fẹ́ mọ iye tí ó jẹ́. Ìkejì, ó ní ṣe pẹ̀lú àwọn ìṣẹ̀lẹ̀ láàrin ọjọ́ wa ní ìsìn ní tí àwọn agbófinró tí wọ́n.
Since then, well, the cases are on. Some are being reviewed because the Internal Revenue Agency came back with information about some of the accused persons came to explain and where they had shortfalls and paid them up. So because of that, we are reviewing and taking out those that should not be there. But otherwise, these cases will continue. It is only those that have in the meantime been resolved to the satisfaction of the state that have been taken off. So it may not come on very quickly. It might take a while, but when it does come on, we will call you and keep you fully informed. Then we are still using vehicles you describe as Black Maria. I think the first thing to consider is the atmosphere. If you use a bus and you overload it, okay, and you don't make provision for any convenience, and I mean, people may get injured in the process, people may die in the process. So it's not really what you use that will ultimately matter for the condition. So what we are doing in the meantime, we may not, as we are buying new vehicles, we are buying more conducive ones. But in the meantime, even the old ones that we have, our objective is to make sure that the accused persons can have a comfortable place to sit, that is not overcrowded, that it is well ventilated, and so on and so forth. So we will improve the design as we buy new ones. But all of the vehicles we are using, at least we are making sure that they are well ventilated, that they are convenient, and they are not overcrowded. The subsidy protest case, what are we doing to ensure that the money is paid? I think that was the question. We are going through the normal process. OPD is still handling that. We've written to the Commissioner of Police because there are issues of vicarious liability, so the police force itself should pay. We'll give them time as is customary to pay. If they don't, we will commence enforcement proceedings, maybe guardianship proceedings, whatever. But be assured that OPD has not dropped even the civil case since the judgment was obtained. And not having dropped it means that it is continuing to do all that is necessary to make sure that a successful outcome is realized. Now, the Law Reform Commission, are they reviewing 3 laws only? No. I just brought those 3 up because that is their latest effort. In fact, they are reviewing all the laws of Lagos State, and I said it in the press briefing that they are compiling all our laws since 1966 2027. And in the process of that, anything that is outdated will be presented to the House of Assembly for review. So aside from that, they have looked at, for instance, the sentencing and treatment of offenders. They have brought up very useful rules, which is under consideration by the Chief Judge of Lagos State that may be issued as practice directions. So they are doing other things, really. And those three, I put them there just because that is what they are currently engaged in, aside from the general review of all the laws of Lagos State. Then the pro bono trust fund, is there anything in it? Yes. His Excellency inaugurated it with 20 million. We're in the process of getting all the trustees in place, and the plan is to also get private sector donors to put money in that fund. It's in the interest of law and order, in the interest of access to justice, in the interest of smooth functioning of society. So we are confident that we will build on that. But for now, we have 20 million seed fund, if you like, donated by His Excellency the Governor. Are we no longer interested in the Al-Mustafa case because we withdrew it? What is happening is that we filed an appeal, okay? And the rules require us to file a notice of appeal, okay, which we did at the Court of Appeal, because that is you file it at the court that gave the judgment. Okay, but it has a time limit, and if the Court of Appeal is unable to hear your application within that time, okay, that's application for leave to appeal, you have to go and make the application at the Supreme Court. So there's a window within which the Court of Appeal must hear the application, and it is because we couldn't get it heard within that period that we have to get out of the Court of Appeal by withdrawing the application there and then refiling it at the Supreme Court. So where we are now is that we are just awaiting the hearing date at the Supreme Court. So what we have done is not to withdraw the appeal. Okay, we are still at application stage, which we think will come up soon at the Supreme Court. So the appeal is still there. Our intention to appeal is still subsisting. Then Jíjó ìbéèrè tó mú wá ní pé ṣé àtìgbà tá ti ṣe òfin yẹn àwọn èèyàn ti ń mú lò, ṣé wọ́n ti ń lòkó àbí wọ́n ti lò. Ibi tí máa ti bẹ̀rẹ̀ ni pé kí a tó ṣòfin àwọn kan ti ń jó òkú wọn. Ìdí tá a lè fi ṣe òfin yẹn nìyẹn, nítorí àwọn kan wà níbi wọn kì í ṣe ara wa, wọ́n wá láti àwọn ọ̀nà tó jẹ́ pé bí àwọn ṣe ń ṣe òkú tiwọn nìyẹn, wọ́n lè fẹ́ máa ṣe irú ẹ̀ náà níbí, a lè mọ̀ pé wọ́n ti ń ṣe. Kò dẹ̀ dá kó máa ṣe irú ẹ̀ ká má ní òfin tó máa tọ́ka sí